Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's tourism lesson. I'm Mr. Samgelo Innocent Uyadam Konyeni, a grade 12 tourism educator and head of department from Eketsang Secondary School in Ekurhuleni South District. Right. This lesson is brought to you by Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. We are busy with revision, and this is part 2. Whereby today I will only be focusing on the 2 questions on your papers. Question 2, whereby you're going to be focusing on time zone calculations. Then if we have enough time, I will move to question 3, whereby we are going to be looking at foreign exchange calculations. Right, we are going to be dealing with world time zone calculations, and also that is going to be your question 2. And then we move to looking at your question 3, where you're going to be looking at foreign exchange or Forex calculations, right? My sources are from the Via Africa Tourism Learners Book Grade 12, Focus Tourism Learners Book Grade 12, and also Oxford Successful Tourism Grade 12 Learners Book. And my papers or activities are mostly from the DBE and November papers, previous papers, right? Because it is very important that you get to practice using the previous papers so that you can be able to know the structure of the papers and the questioning strategies. I hope you have pen and paper there with you so that you can also be able to jot down 1 or 2 notes. Let's move. Right. As I said that we're going to be focusing on world time zone calculations. Last week, we looked at the time zone concepts. When we spoke about concepts, we spoke about the time zone terms or terminology that is used when we are calculating what time zones. So today's lesson objectives or focuses are as follows. Number 1, we are going to be looking at time zone calculations. And I'm saying my calculations are divided into 5. The first thing that we're going to be revising is steps to determine or to calculate time. Then steps to calculate arrival time. And then when you are busy doing arrival time again, I'm going to teach you again how to calculate time and date or time and day. Because sometimes when you have to do calculations, if you saw there on your prelim, there are learners who lost marks by just calculating time and they left out what the date column or part of their answers, and they lost 1 if not 2 marks. So I'm first going to teach you steps on how to determine what time, then steps how to calculate arrival time, steps how to calculate arrival time and date or end day. Then we'll move to steps to calculate departure time. Again, they're on departure time. I'm also going to teach you how to calculate departure time, including a date and a day. Remember, a date, it is the day, the month, and the year. So learners forfeit marks by not reading everything in terms of the examiner's instruction, in terms of what is it that you must calculate. Then we will move to calculating time with DST, right? Calculating time, either arrival or departure time, but now with DST. Then the last calculations will be calculating time, including stopover. And then the last part before activities, I'll move to Forex calculations, which is part of your question 3. Right. Why am I doing so many things in terms of time zone calculations? It is because on our papers, we never know whether they will say calculate arrival time or calculate departure time or calculate time with DST or calculate time without DST, right? In some instances, whereby tourists will be traveling and so on, when you are doing flying time and so on, sometimes they will say include what? A stopover. So we need to make sure that we practice all this because we never know what's going to come out on our papers. Whether they will say calculate time or calculate arrival time with a day or a date, or calculate departure time with the day or date, or calculate time with DST or without DST, or calculate time including a stopover. So those are the skills that we are going to be focusing on today, meaning all this, it is going to be part of your question 2, and then this Forex or foreign exchange calculations will be part of your question 3. So we will try to deal with 2 topics today. Let's just remind ourselves of what is it that we dealt with last week, right? Remember, I said before calculations, you need to know your concept. Because when you read your tourism sentences for your papers, what do they give us? They give us all those terms and concepts or terminology that we have before we do calculations. And learners can fail calculations, but if you know your concepts, you can be able to get more marks and so on. Let's just go back for a minute or so. Right. Remember, I tried last week to introduce you to the time zone map, right? This is going to be part of your question 2. When you open your question paper, this is the map that you need to be familiar with and the map that you are going to come up with, right? So this is the time zone map. Let me try to label it a bit. What we have here, we've got our 24-hour clock, meaning when you have to do the calculations, this can also be able to assist you. You just need to know when do we go clockwise and when do we go anti-clockwise. When are we going ahead and when are we going behind? Can you see this? This is what I'm talking about. And then this we are going backwards, and then this we are going to the next day. This is our time zone map. You will see the instructions will say read or study the following time zone map. That's the thing. So it means that you need to highlight your map. Your map should not be blank, especially if you've been practicing this with your educator. This is the time zone map that you're going to get. Let me just try to label it. What we have here, we've got these numbers here. These are our time zones, right? Plus 1 up until plus 12, and then on the left minus 1 up until minus 12, right? Then here we've got our 0 line. This is our 0 line of UTC or the line of London or GMT. Then underneath all these lines, and then here we've got our degrees. Degrees this side and also degrees this side. So on 0 we've got what? 0 degrees. On plus 1 we've got what? 15 degrees. Because remember I said to you the difference between one time zone and the other is 1 hour or 15 degrees, right? On minus 1 again here we'll have what? 15 degrees. On plus 2 you've got 30 degrees. On plus 3 then you'll have 45 degrees, and so on and so on. You're just adding what? 15, right? Then let's go to 180 degree. Here we've got our plus 12, even though it's not written there. And then on the left again we've got our minus 12. So we said that 12 plus 12, it is what? Our 24 time zones. So here at 180 degree, both on the left and also on the right, or on the east and the west, we have our IDL or international date line. Actually, let's write it in full. International date line, right? It is this side on the east, and it is also this side on the west, our IDL, right? Remember, we said at 180 degree line, this is the zigzag line that separates today and the next day, or today and the previous day, and this is where all the calendar dates change. Meaning when the earth is rotating, when we get to the 180 degree, it means we are going to the next day, right? Then here we've got 0, and then all the countries on the left or on the west, and then we said they are earlier, right? And then all the countries on the east, this is on plus, right? Remember we said they are later, right? And then here we've got ahead and also behind, right? We need to remember that later or ahead of time. Then this side we are behind time, right? When you move to the east, now when it comes to calculations, remember we add time. Then when you move to the left, what do we do? We subtract time, right? Because when we move to the east, it means that we are ahead or we are later, right? And then when we move to the west, we are going earlier because we are behind. So you need to remember all those things. Then when you get into the inside of your map again, you will see that we've got lines that are moving from north to south. These ones, right? The straight ones going down, the straight ones going down. So they are curving, they are not straight. They are like this, those lines. Right, what we call that. These are the lines of longitude because they are moving from north to south. Then we also have the lines that are parallel to each other, these ones. Then we call them the lines of latitude. And then these ones, they are longitude. Right, this is you trying to interpret what? Your time zone map. Then you will see that your time zone map will have how many colors? Will have 2 colors. The other countries, they are shaded, and then the other countries are not shaded. So let's look, for example, when we find South Africa, we said we are calculating our time on +2 or 30 degrees what? East. Are you getting me? So this is where South Africa is. When you go up, you will see Zimbabwe, Cairo, and so on and so on. We all fall under what? Under the same time zone. So that's what we need to look at. And then I said to you, in some countries, they have more than one what? More than one time zone. For example, let's go to Australia. There it is, Australasia there. We've got how many time zones? 3. 1, there's +10, then Sydney. Then there's 9,5 here in Melbourne or something. Then in Perth, there's +8. Then when you see 9,5, remember we said to you that each time zone represents what? 1 hour. So when there's 0.5, it means it is 30 minutes or half an hour. When you go here again in Asia as well, you will see here that it is quite a lot or a number of time zones, right? Some countries have more than one time zone, right? Remember here again, you need to remember your 7 continents because on your time zone, they will give you the cities, but you need to know where New York is. You need to know where Johannesburg is. You need to know where Canada is. You need to know all those countries and so on. So it is very important that you also go back to your grade 10, if not 89 social sciences or tourism grade 10, whereby we're trying to map or to identify our 7 what? Continents. Right. This is just an interpretation of our time zone. And then all those numbers inside those maps, they are our what? They are our time zone. So they may also assist you when it comes to you working on your map. So your map should not be blank. This is us trying to interpret our map. We are available on our WhatsApp line 063-629-3655. 063-629-3655. This is where you can be able to interact with us and send us questions that are relevant to today's topic. Let's move. So this was just an introduction to your time zone map. Right, let me just go back for a minute. So we said, what are time zones? This was last week. We said the time zones are the divisions of the earth into 24 zones. How do we get these zones, right? We said this side from 0 to the east, we've got +1 up until +12. That is the first 12, right? And then 0 again, -1. This is -1 up until -12, 880 degrees. Those are our time. Let's look at this part there. This is what I'm talking about. This is our 0 UTC, Universal Time Coordinate. This is where all countries calculate what? Time. Here's +1 this side up until +12. Then this side -1 up until -12. Where do you see the 12? There's 12 is here at 180 degrees. Those are our time. Then I said we've got 12 zones to the east, this side 1, 2, 3 up until +12. And then we've got 12 zones again to the west, -1 up until what? -12. Then I said each zone represents what? 1 hour. Meaning the difference between one time zone and the next one, or between the other time zone and the previous one, is what? 1 hour. Then I also said that each time zone represents what? 15 degrees. For example, for us in South Africa, where are we? We are on +2 and 30 degrees east. Where do you see that? Here's our +2. And then where are we? Here are our degrees. We are on 30 degrees. And remember, I said on the right, what do we have? We have our east. And then on the west, or on the left, we've got what? Our west. Right. Time zones are the divisions of the earth into 24 zones. Then we've got this concept. Are we ahead time or behind time? Then I said all countries to the east of UTC, this is this side, meaning to the right. And then here we've got west. All the countries to the east, they are ahead of time or later. Meaning when you move from +2 to the next time zone, you are 1 hour ahead, and so on and so on, depending on the country that you are going to. Hence, you normally see that most of the time when it gets to New Year's Eve in Australia and so on, they say New Year's Eve, the New Year before us, because they are ahead. Right? When you go to the west, all the countries to the west of UTC, they are behind time or later. Then we've got universal time coordinate. I said UTC, this is the 0 line of London, right? UTC, universal time coordinate. This is where all countries does what? Calculate time. It is the 0 line of longitude where all countries calculate time. It is also known as the line of or Greenwich Meridian time. Where is it on the map? It is this part on our time zone map. Then we've got the two concepts, standard time and local time. I said standard time, it is the time that it is the same for all countries in all places in that particular country. For example, in South Africa, what is our standard time? We calculate our time at +2. Sydney, they calculate their time at +10. New York at -5. So this is the time zone of one particular country. Then the second concept, local time, it is the specific time at any given place, meaning the time in your clock. When you look at our clock now, it is 14:17. That is what our local time. So those are the things that the concepts that you need to know of it, because when you have to do calculations, they will say identify or explain the concept standard time, or the standard time in this country is +2. So you need to know that, or calculate what is the local time. It's very important that you know those concepts before you move to your calculations. Then you've got the international deadline. I did show you on that particular map. This is what I'm talking about. The zigzag line going down like this, IDL, and also on the right as well, there it is, IDL. This is what we're calling it, the zigzag line. It is the 108-degree line that separates today from yesterday. This is where all calendar days change. It is the zigzag line. It is the imaginary line. To the east of the IDL, the date is 1 day earlier than to the west. And when you cross the IDL from the east, you go back a day. And when you cross IDL from the west, you go forward a day. Right? We dealt with this last week. Then when it comes to 24-hour clock, you need to remember that in tourism, especially when you check your boarding passes and so on, we use what? The 24-hour clock, to not confuse morning and evening. When we calculate time zones, we use what? 24-hour clock. We do not use AM or PM, and this is how we calculate our time, not this one. You're getting it? So avoid this one. These are the correct one when it comes to time zone calculations. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here it is where in the morning. Then from here it is in the afternoon. This 12, it is after noon, and so on. This 20, it is 8 o'clock in the evening. Then this 00, it is 12 after what? After midnight. Then this 12 here, it is 12 when? Midday. So double check all those things. I know we did them. Good. Then jet lag and jet fatigue. I said when you are busy traveling, your body, because your body is used to being in a particular time zone, then if you are traveling either for longer hours or when you are moving from one place to another, one time zone to the other, you will experience either of these. Jet lag, you experience it when you are crossing multiple what time zones. Multiple, it means what? Many time zones. Then your body, excuse me, then your body will experience what? Jet lag. Jet fatigue. Jet here, it's an extra aeroplane. Jet fatigue, it is a physical condition caused by spending many hours on the flight, right? If you are taking a long haul flight, then you will experience what? Jet fatigue. DST, it is a practice whereby countries adjust their clocks by 1 hour during summer months so that they can make use of extra daylight. The DST, it is also known as summertime. For example, if we are saying that in New York, they are practicing DST, then basically when you go to your standard time, New York is on -5. But when we say they are applying DST, remember we said we add. And when we add, where do we move? We move to the right. Therefore, New York will be on -4. Then you go to Moscow. If the standard time for Moscow it is +4, and then we say now in Moscow they are practicing DST, it means they need to adjust their clock by 1 hour or move it forward by 1 hour. Then Moscow will not be on +4, but will be on +5. So bear in mind when you do your calculations that when they say DST, daylight saving time. Right. Then we jump to today's work, right? Remember, I said to you we are available on our WhatsApp line 063 629 3655, 063 629 3655, right? I am going to give you a minute so that you can be able to jot this down or take a screenshot. These are the time zones calculations that you are going to be dealing with. So you need to ensure that you have practiced all those 5 because we never know which ones will come on your paper. I'll see you just now in a minute. Right. Now we are moving straight to time zone calculations. I hope you have jotted this down, right? When it comes to time zone calculations, we need to remember that it is a process. When I say it is a process, I mean it is a step by step. And each step, meaning once you miss one step, then everything going down will be, chances are extremely high that it will be incorrect. The first one, we've got steps to determine or calculate time. We need to practice that. The second one, steps to calculate what? Departure time. See what I've added today? We're going to do departure time and date of a day. Then number 3, steps to calculate arrival time. Then what have I added as well? Date and date of a day. Then we move to steps to calculate what? Time, but now with what? With DST. So obviously, we should be able to remember this concept. Then the last one will be steps to calculate time with what? With a stopover. Let's move to the first one. They are saying here, study the information below. See, study is a verb, doing well. So it's very important that you read. Study the information below and use the world time zone map to answer the questions that follow. So you'll be given what particular cases. Let's check this one. Angela flies to the USA, right? Oh, okay. This person flying to the USA. Yeah, USA. Where's she from? Let's check. Below is Angela's flight information from her trip. For a trip from Cape Town. Oh, now we know. Where's this person from? You highlight the only question. This person is from Cape Town. Using a pencil. Where is she traveling to? To the USA, but where in the USA? Now we find, oh, she's traveling to the Francisco in the USA. Cool, let's move. Angela flew from Cape Town to San Francisco. This is you now studying what the information. The flight departed, okay, from Cape Town at 1700. You see the time out written. It's written like this and not like this. So be very careful. When you see now we are given the time and the date on the 21st of October. The flight stopped, right? Hence I said here when I was doing this, I said I'm gonna teach you steps on how to calculate time with a stopover. What is a stopover? It is when your flight has to stop and then you wait for an hour or two so that you can be able to take another flight. So when you don't have a direct flight from one place to the other, then you will take another flight via another airport. So a stopover, we added. Her flight stopped at Cape Fear Island en route to San Francisco. The total flying time, when we are talking about flying time, we are talking about the number of hours that this person will spend on the flight. Ne? That is the flying time, right? The total flying time, including the stopover time in Cape Fear was what? 23 hours. This is not the time. This is the number of hours. Excuse me. It is the number of hours and not the time. Be very careful. 2.3.1. Give one reason why the flight stopped at the Cape Fear Island. Obviously, the flight stopped en route to. So obviously, she had to stop it because there is no direct flight from Cape Town to San Francisco, or because she wanted to experience Cape Fear and so on. Then, how do we calculate time there? Right? Steps to calculate time. The first thing that you must do is to do what? Identify what? The time zone for each city or country. Obviously, you need to read your statement first, but you need to know this process is what is there. How do we determine or calculate time? You first must identify from where? From your time zone map. The time zone for each city or country. You write it down. After doing that, what must you calculate? You need to calculate the time zone difference between the two countries or cities. Right? I will explain further. Then we only answer the question in step 3. When it comes to step 2, when you do the time difference, it is all about the right? Positive and minus or plus and you check your signs. If the signs are the same, then what must you do? If one is on positive and one is on minus, then what must you do? Add them together. If the signs are the same, step 3, you determine the unknown time, right? By either adding or subtracting, depending on where you are moving from your known time. If your unknown time is on the right or on the east, for you to get the answer, what do? You add the difference. If your unknown time is on the left or on the west, then what do? You add you subtract the line. You subtract what? The time. Let's check an example, an activity. If it is 8 o'clock, remember the step. If it is 8 o'clock in Pretoria, what time will it be, or is it in London? If it is 8 o'clock in Pretoria, what time will it be, or is it in London? Obviously, what do you need here? You need your time. Go back to the right. Here's our time zone map. Right? We first need to find that. Step one, I said, locate what? Each country. Let's first check. We have what? Pretoria. As you can see, Pretoria is not there. But you need to know that Pretoria falls under which time zone? +2, where? In South Africa. So step one, I said identify the time zone. Use this one. Then you say Pretoria. Where is it? It's on +3. Then what was the second country? London, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. It was London. Check. Right, yes. If it is 8 o'clock in Pretoria, what time is it in London? Right? I said step one, what do? You identify the time. Let me just continue from Pretoria or South Africa is on +2. Then London, where's London on the map? Go back to it. This is you now using what? Your time zone map. You don't just answer, but you need to go. So you zoom your map. Then when I zoom my map, where's London? There it is. Can you see? My London is on. Right? Then Pretoria, then London is on 0. You have identified what? Your 2 time zones. Have you answered the question? The question was, if it is 8 o'clock in Pretoria, what time is it in London? Then you move. Then step 2, you must calculate what? Time difference. Right? That is all about what? The time. Then what do you do? Then here we got +2. And then I said you check the signs. 2 + 0. Then what do you have? 2 hours. What does this 2 mean? It means what? The difference between South Africa and London, it is what? 2 hours. Let's confirm that. You also go back to your map, meaning South Africa, it is 2 hours ahead of what? London. And London, it is 2 hours behind of what? Of South Africa. That's what we're trying to say. To confirm your calculations, try. So we are on +2, then we need to move to 0. How many time zones? Here's the first one, 1. Don't calculate from here. So we are here, then we are moving here. Here's the first one, +1. Then number 2 is on 0. So it means what? We are how many hours? 1, 2. Then we are. Have we answered the question? No. Where do we answer the question? In step 3. Then what do we want? One time in London. Then here, this is where you check. What is your known time? Your known time, it is what? Pretoria. What did they say is the time in Pretoria? 8 o'clock. So you write 08. Then you check. This is where learners use it. Am I adding or am I subtracting? Then you check. You are here on +2, and where's London is on the left or on the west of South Africa. What do you do when you go to the left? I said here, you subtract what? Therefore, you will say 08 minus 2, which 2 hours? The one on time difference. And let's check what I go to check. So 8, avoid using a calculator. I normally use my pen. So it is 8 in the morning. right? 8, and then 7, with 8, and then 7, then 6. Our time will be what? Going to be 06 in the morning. Then you are correct. They only said calculate time. Then if you are not doing it like that, you can also use your time zone map. I mean your 24-hour clock. What did we say here in the 24-hour clock? We said it is 8 o'clock where? In South Africa. There it is, our 8 o'clock. And then where are we going? We are going to the left. Right? We are going back. Right? Therefore, we are going anti-clockwise there. So from 8, this is you calculating. 8 in the morning, then the first hour, 7, then the second hour, 6. Then it means that we are correct. Then we have answered the first question. Step 1, identify the 2 time zones. The time zone for each city. Step 2, calculate the time difference. Calculate the time difference by either adding or subtracting. What do we check? We check the sign. Are the countries both on negative, or are the countries both on plus, or is one on negative and one on positive? Right? Then step 3, we calculate time by either subtracting or adding again. If our unknown time is on the right, on the east, then we add. We add what? If our unknown time is on the left or on the west, what do? You subtract what? The time difference from your. I know I'm moving very fast, but let's move. Then that was our first what? Activity in terms of calculation. Then let's move to the second one. Right. Let me just edit. We said we've got plus, and then it's on 0. Time difference, the 2 minus 0 or 2 plus 0, what do we have? We have 2 hours. Then when you answer the question, step 3, therefore you want time in London. So what is the time that you know in South Africa? It is 8 o'clock. Then where is London? It's on the left of South Africa. Therefore, minus 2 hours. Then what do we have? We've got 6 in the morning. This can be 3 marks, right? You don't, let's check how do you get marks. The question was, what time? So the first one here for the correct time, then the second mark, check where I'm awarding the ticks, it is here, whether the learner knows that they are adding or subtracting, and then the third one here is also for what? The correct time difference, then you will get what? 3 out of 3. Easy. But then we move to the second activity. Now listen carefully to this one. If it is 10 hours 30 in Perth, then there's a call. 21 October 2022. What time, or calculate the time and date it will be in Los Angeles. Right? Step 1, identify your country. Oh, okay, the time it is 10 hours 30. What are my countries? Here and Los Angeles. Okay. Then I'm giving what? I'm giving the date. Oh, what time? So what does the question say? It wants you to calculate what? The time and date where in Los Angeles. Right? I'm giving you 30 seconds to write down this second question. When we come back, we are back. Okay, let me give you a minute because you also need to try to answer it on your own before we do the correction. If it is 10 hours 30 in Perth, 21 October 2022, what time and date will it be in Los Angeles? I'm giving you a minute so that you can be able to do this. When I come back, we're going to be doing the calculations. Right, welcome back. I hope we have answered your question. Now let's deal with the corrections. My statement is, it is 10 hours 13, 21 October 2022. What time, or calculate the time and date, excuse me, it will be in Los Angeles. What is step one? Right, step one, remember, what did I say? Identify what? The time zone for each city or country. From where? From the time zone map. Let's go back to the map. Because you don't just plot, you identify directly from the map. We're giving to what? Country, right? What do you have? It is Los Angeles and Perth, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. If it is 10 hours 13 Perth, 21 October 2022, what time will it be? Time and date will it be in Los Angeles? Let's go to a map to try to find Perth and Los Angeles, right? You need to locate it, remember, on your time zone. Let me go and check. West Los Angeles, you need to remember that it is where? In the USA. There it is. On your map, obviously, there it is. Los Angeles. Where is it? It is on -8. So step one, identify your time. 2, Los Angeles. Where is it? It's on -8 or -8. Then the second country, it was Perth, right? Here's my Perth. It's on +8. Then Perth is on positive what? 8. Right? That is my step. Then step 2, what must you calculate? Time difference. Okay, time difference, or TD, please write. Remember what I said to you here. It is all about the signs. So our signs are the same. Then you must be adding them together and subtracting. Then the signs are not the same. If the signs are the same, we subtract. If one is on negative and one is on positive, the time difference here, we will say 8 plus 8. Then what we have? 16 what? 16 hours. Meaning the time zone between Los Angeles and Perth, it is 16 hours. Let's go to our map and confirm if this is true, unless if I must go back. Time difference, we are here, right? On +8, then we are going on -8. So sometimes if you're not sure, you can calculate directly on. Let's move. +8, right? Check. +7, that is our 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Therefore, we are what? We are correct. So, Perth, it is 16 hours ahead of Los Angeles. Then Los Angeles, it is what? 16 hours behind of Perth. That's what we're trying to say there. Have we answered the question? No. Remember, we answered the question where? In step 3. In step 3, they said it is 10 hours 80 where? In Perth. What time is it in? In Los Angeles. So that we want the time in Los Angeles. Then we will say 10 hours 80. Then we check, am I adding or am I subtracting? Where is my known time? Our known time, it is what? It is Perth. Meaning it is 10 hours 30 in Perth. What is our unknown time? It is the time in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is on the left of Perth. Therefore, what are we going to do? Then we will say 10 hours 30 subtract 16 hours to get our answer. Let's check what will be the time. So it is 10 hours 30 here. Let me try to use the 24-hour clock. So we need to move where? Backward. ne? So that we can get our 10:30. We need to 10:30 minus 15. So let's check. Then I say this, right? 10:30 is what I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Can you see here now we are on midnight? Therefore, we are the date now changes because we are on midnight. Let me try again. So it is 10 hours 30 in the morning. The first one it will be 9:30, 8:30, 7:30, 6:30, 5:30 when in the morning, 4:30, 3:30, 2:30, 1:30, 12:30. Then we are on the previous day. Then 11:30, 12:30. Let me just double check. Where do we get our 16? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Then the time would be 18 hours 30. Remember they said time and date. When was the date? It was 21. Now we have passed what? Mid. Then it will be 20 October 2022. Correct. Let's check the memo. So I hope you're also correct. So let's check the memo before we mark, because there is a memo somewhere. So this is very, very important that you know how to do your time zone calculation. So it is 17 hours 30, not 16, right? Here's our time zones. Los Angeles there, Perth there, time difference 8 plus 8. Then here we were correct. Then 10 hours 30 minus 16. Let's double check. 10:30, 9:30, 8:30, 7:30, 6:30, 5:30, 4:30, 3:30, 2:30, 1:30, 12:30, 23:30, 22. I need 23:30, 22:30, 21:30, 21:30, 20:30, 19:30, 17:30. So that is our answer. And remember we said what? Time and the date. Then that's where you will get your full 5/5. Check using our calculator. Remember in your exam, you need to have your calculator. 5 minus 16 is 10, 80 minus 30. That is correct. Then we move. So do not leave out the date or else you will be confused. Then we move to calculating arrival time. Right? Here you will be given statements. Right? Scenarios and statements. Let's check if there's one on that other side. Yes, but let's check the step. Calculating arrival. Again, you must do what? Identify the time zone for each city or country. Calculate the time difference between the two countries. Determine the unknown time by either adding or subtracting. But very important. If your unknown time is on the right, you add the time. If your unknown time is on the left, you. But now there's step 4 when it comes to looking at arrival time. Then I said, after your time, what must you do? You must add the flying time. Add. So when we want arrival time, you do step 1, 2, 3. Then now there is step 4. After your answer in step 4, what must you do? Okay. When you want arrival time, then you will add the flying time. The flying time, it is what? The number of hours that this person will spend on the right? Then departure time. right? Departure time, identify the time zone for each city again, calculate the time difference between the two countries or cities. That is step 2. Step 3, determine the unknown time either adding or subtracting. Then there's also step 4. But now when we want departure time, what do? We subtract the flying. More or less the same thing. Step 1 up until 3. Now when you want departure, there is step 4. Departure, you subtract the flying time. Arrival time, you add the. Let's just go to one of our statements. Mr. Jackson, remember I said we'll be given what? So time zones need us to practice and practice and practice. And the maximum mark maybe it will be 6 or 5 in each question, and the minimum 3. So don't stress too much, but if you do not practice, then you will fail or you will not be able to get the full total mark. So, and it is not a lot. Stop stressing too much about time zone calculation, but do practice your calculations. If I were to get such a statement, let's check. Remember, I said you highlight your things. Mr. Jackson, okay, this is the tourist, flew from OR Tambo International Airport. Then they is given. Where is OR Tambo? It's in Johannesburg, meaning we know the country. Okay, to Tegel International Airport. Where is it? Berlin in Germany. To attend a Berlin International Festival. He had what? Listen to this one. A stopover in Abu Dhabi. Right? Meaning there's no direct flight. Therefore, he had to go and do what? Stopover. Mr. Jackson's flight from OR Tambo International Airport departed at 12 o'clock midday. He stopped, this is you highlighting. He stopped over at Abu Dhabi International Airport, which is where you look now, +4. So when you read carefully, you will see that on your statements, sometimes they will give you the answers to read. So they are giving us what here, the time zone where the Abu Dhabi is. To take a connecting flight to Tegel International, where Tegel International Airport is on +1. So this person moves in South Africa +2, 2 +4. Then +4, then he must take a flight, connecting flight to here in +1. The flying time, there is your flying time. The flying time, remember I said, it is the number of hours that this person, a tourist, will spend on the flight. Right? The flying time from Johannesburg to Abu Dhabi International Airport was 8 hours. Mr. Jackson arrived in Abu Dhabi at what time? At 2200. The stopover at transit time in Abu Dhabi was 5 hours. What does this mean? Meaning, for him to wait for the next connecting flight, he had to stop or wait for how many what? For how many hours? For 5 hours. Then the flying time now from where? From Abu Dhabi to Berlin. His final destination was how many hours? 7 hours. So highlight all the facts before you move to answer. Then we've read our statements, we have highlighted our points. You're using your pencils, remember the question paper. 2.2.1. Calculate at what time? At what time in Abu Dhabi Mr. Jackson departed from OR Tambo? Show your calculations. Mr. Jackson's flight from OR Tambo departed at 12 o'clock. Meaning, if it was 12 o'clock in South Africa, what time was it in Abu Dhabi? That's what they wanted. Let's try to do it. Step 1, we said identify what the time zone for the two. The memo is there on the next page. Let's start. Calculate at what time in Abu Dhabi Mr. Jackson departed from OR Tambo. Meaning, what time was it in Abu Dhabi when he left 2.2. Remember, your numbering has to be 2.18. The first step, identify what? The time zone. So what are you going to write there? Johannesburg. Where is it? It's on plus 2. Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is on plus 4. There it is. They gave it to us. Remember, where are you identifying there? On the time. Step 2, calculate what? Time difference. So what do you do? 4. Then our signs are the same. Therefore, what are you going to do? We subtract 4 minus 2. Then what do we have? 2 hours. Let's double check on the map. The 2. Very tricky. Yes. Yes. They said Abu Dhabi, where is it? It is on plus 4. So from here on plus 2 to here, how many time zones? 1, 2. Therefore, we are correct. We are getting there. We are getting there. We are getting there. Remember, if this is not confusing you, then it means that you are not there. Right. So the time difference, it is what? 2 hours. Have you answered the question? No. Calculate at what time in Abu Dhabi Mr. Jackson departed from World Tambo. Therefore, they are saying Mr. Jackson flight from World Tambo departed at 12 o'clock. Therefore, we're going to say when it was 12 o'clock in South Africa, what time was it? Therefore, 12 o'clock, then we check where are we going to? We are going to the right. Abu Dhabi, it is on the right. We're going to say 12 o'clock plus 2. Then what do we have? 12, 13, 14. Therefore, it was 14. Calculate at what time in Dubai Mr. Jackson departed from Owa Tambo. We check. Yes. That's the memorandum. The memorandum to check whether am I correct. We said the first step, identify your time zone. We check if did I do that. There's our time zone. Step 2, calculate what? Time difference. There's it on the map. How do they get this 2? They said 4 minus 2. We check here. Yes, 4 minus 2, there it is what? 12 hours. Therefore, then they said 12 hours plus 2, there it is. Then we got what? Your 14 hours. There, that's where you got your 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you got what? Your 3 out of 3. You nailed it. Step 1, identify your 2 time zones. Step 2, calculate time difference. Step 3, you calculate time. And step 4, that's where you actually, that's where you actually what? Then B, calculate at what time he departed from now Abu Dhabi International Airport. At what time he departed from Abu Dhabi International Airport. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer that next question so that when we come back, we answer. Calculate at what time he departed from Abu Dhabi. Remember, we are using what? The same statement there above. Remember the connecting flight and the stopover and so on. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Right. Let's check now this one. It is Newton Konyen here. We are busy with tourism and doing time zone calculations. We just did our first question. Now we are moving to B. I'll try to write it here. Now calculate at what time he departed from Abu Dhabi International Airport. Mr. Jackson arrived in Abu Dhabi at what time? And then the stopover in Abu Dhabi was 5 hours. And the flying time from Abu Dhabi to Berlin was 7 hours. Calculate at what time he departed from Abu Dhabi International Airport. Now we've got the two countries now. We have Abu Dhabi. Where is it? Also on plus 4, and then the flying to Tigel. It's when plus 1. Right, therefore we only have this. So what are you going to do there? We will say 22 hours. Then remember, we will say 22 hours plus that the stopover. Let me subtract this 22. Let me go back here. Mr. Jackson arrived in Abu Dhabi at 2200. The stopover time was this time. The flying time was. Calculate at what time he departed from Abu Dhabi to where is he going to? Tigel. Therefore, we will say 22. This time that we have, then we subtract the stopover. Subtracting it. Then 22. Okay, we're getting it, sorry. 22 plus 5, which 5? This is the 5 hours that he had to stop and wait there by the airport. 22, 23, 24, meaning 12. Then 1, 2, 3. Then what are you going to have? 3 o'clock. Calculate at what time he departed from Dubai International Airport. It's really that correct. Oh, thank God. Then that's our answer. Remember, you take this and then you just add what? That particular stopover that calculate at what time he departed from. And we are saying we need to make sure that we add what? The stopover, meaning the number of hours that he had to sit and wait for the next connecting flight to his final destination. And it is 1, 2, 3. Then that's the time. Then we are done there. I tried to drop it. Arrival time 22 plus what? Plus 5 of the stopover. Then what's the answer? It is 3 o'clock. Difficult. Another activity. But now here we are going to be looking at time and date. Okay, let me just go back to it. And I want you to check again that the number of hours the marks, they are now increased. Study the information below and use the world time zone map to answer the questions that pose. Whether it is the case that side. Angela flies to the USA. Below is Angela's flight information for a trip from Cape Town to San Francisco. Angela flew from Cape Town International Airport to San Francisco. The flight departed from Cape Town at 1700, which date? 21. The flight stopped at Cape Verde Island and due to San Francisco. The total flying time, including the stopover time in Cape what Island, was 3 hours. That's the information. What are they saying? Yes, study the information and use the world time zone map to answer your question. Now, we have read the case. 2.3.1. Calculate. I want you to check the number of months. The previous 2 questions, we just wanted what time, and it was about what 3. Calculate Angela's time and date of arrival in San Francisco. How many things they want here now? They want 2 things: the time and the date. Go back to the case a bit. Angela flew from Cape Town to San Francisco. He departed from Cape Town at 1700, right? Let's check. What is step 1? What do they want here? They want us to calculate time and date. Step 1, let's calculate, identify the time zones. Let's check. Cape Town is on +2, right? Then San Francisco, I'm just gonna write it like this. Let's go to the map and try to find it. Somewhere in the US. You need to ensure that you go back to your time zone map to identify your time zones correctly. Somewhere on minus. Yes, we are getting there. Right. Western Francisco, again, it is on, there it is. It is on -8. You say it, there it is. And check again here. Here, remember, it is water. So the country is on the land where the dot is. So you don't really check the name, but you check where the dot is. Because remember, this is the globe. So here it is what is water. One will say it's on -9, what. No. Check where the land is. San Francisco is on -8. Thank you. Right. So we had to go and find San Francisco on our map, and we found out that San Francisco is on -8. San Francisco is on -8. Remember, step 1, identify your time zones between the 2 cities. We have done that. Step 2, time difference. It's about what the sign. Our signs are not the same, therefore you're going to add 8. The signs are not the same, therefore 8. Then we add them together because the signs are not the same. 8 plus 2, then we've got what? 10 hours. Meaning the difference between San Francisco and South Africa is 10 hours. Have you answered the question? Calculate the time and date of arrival. Let's check. Her flight departed at 17 hours. Therefore, here we will say we want the time in San Francisco. Therefore, we will say 17 hours. Meaning when it was 17 hours, what time was it there? Then 17 hours minus 10. Then what do we have? 17 minus 10. We go back, remember, 16, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Which one in the morning? 6. We go back. 17 minus 10. 17, 16, right? Remember I said avoid using a calculator. 17, 16, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Therefore, it's going to be 7 o'clock in the morning. But now remember, we have what? This is the time. Ne? It is 7 o'clock, but remember, we want the arrival time. So when you go back here, we need to do something with the flying hour. The total flying time was 23. So we know they arrived when? Therefore, plus 23. And what are you going to have? It's quite then you're going to say 7 plus 23. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which one midday? 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Which 5? 17. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which 12? Midday. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Right? 17 were in the evening, in the afternoon. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, which is what? Midnight. 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore, it will be 6 o'clock. Okay, what was the date that side? Still the 21st. My God. 21. 6 o'clock, the next day, 22 October. It is very tricky because here is the next day. So this one you will get your full 6 marks. Let's check on this other memo. There it is our number 1, identify your time. Number 2, calculate the time difference. Then this is where you get the first mark, the second mark, this and this and this and this. That's where you get your full 6. Let's go back that side. There it is as well here. 1 for the date, 1 for the time, 1 for adding, 1 for subtracting, and then 1 here, and then 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you get your 6 marks. Very, very, very tricky. Remember, when you want departure time, you do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at step 4, you add the flying time. When you want departure time, you do step 1, 2, 3, and at step 4, you subtract. Right, let's move to the last question before we move to foreign exchange. After spending some time with family now, we're in San Francisco. Angela continued on her trip to Dallas. She arrived in Dallas at 8 o'clock on the 8th of January. Calculate at what time the flight departed from San Francisco if the flight was 3 hours long. The 3 hours long, this one, remember, it is the flying time. Okay. After spending some time with family in San Francisco, Angela continued the trip to Dallas. She arrived at 8 o'clock 8 January. Step 1, now we are doing the second one. Step 1, identify your time zones. What do we have? San Francisco, where is it? It's on -8, right? Then Dallas, let's go to our map. First. Yes. Then we need to go to the map and try to locate our she's here. Then now she's looking for Dallas. There it is. You see, still in New York, but it's on -6. There it is. Then our Dallas is on -6. Still there in the United States. Remember, you identify your time zones where? On your time zone. So on -6. We are getting there. We are busy with the time zone calculation. So it's on -6. Time difference, remember the signs are there. The signs are not the same. Therefore, we will say 8 minus 6. What we have, we've got what? 2 hours. Meaning that is the time zone difference between Dallas and San Francisco. Have you answered the question? No. Therefore, after spending some time in with family in San Francisco, Angela continued on her trip to Dallas. She arrived in Dallas at 8 o'clock. Therefore, you want to know when it was 8 o'clock in Dallas. Remember, Dallas is on -6. What time was it in San Francisco? We're going to say 8 minus 2 because San Francisco is on the left. 8 minus 2, therefore we've got what? 6 o'clock. Then remember, we need to do something here with the flying hours. What is it that we calculate at what time? We want departure time. Therefore, when we want departure time again, what do we do to the flying hours? We subtract 6 minus how many hours? 3. Then what time was it? 6, 5, 4, 3. This 3, then 3 in there. Right? They did not say date. They just said what? Time. Let's check whether we are correct. Step 1, identify your 2 time zones. Step 2, calculate time difference. Step 3, we calculate time by either adding. Then we check that, oh, Dallas, San Francisco is on the left. Therefore, hence we subtracted. Then here, it is the what? The flying time. Let's check if we are correct. There, we are correct. Step 1, identify your time zone. Step 2, calculate what? Time difference. How do they get these two? They said 8 minus 6, then they got what? 2 hours. Then, when it was 8 o'clock in Dallas, what time was in San Francisco? And they said 8 minus 2, then they got 6 o'clock. Then here, we need to do something with the flying time. When we want departure time, then we subtract the flying time. Then there's our answer, and then you get your full 6 marks. So those are some of the activities that you need to practice time again, right? Then we move to foreign exchange calculation. Foreign exchange what? Calculation. Before that, let me just do one activity that has a DST. Let me just do one activity that has DST. Let me just create a statement. Then we are saying Bongani left New York at 12 hours to Pretoria. Right? And that's maybe he was studying. Bongani left New York at 12 hours to Pretoria. His flight departed at 12 o'clock. That's the same. Calculate, and his flying time was 7 hours. Then I say calculate his arrival time. Then I will say, please note that New York practice DST, then 6 months. Let's start again. Bongani left, meaning departed New York at 12 o'clock to Pretoria. His flight departed at 12 o'clock and his flying time was 7 hours. Calculate his arrival time. Arrival time where? In Pretoria. Then I say, please note that New York practices DST. Let's try to answer this one. Here I'm going to show you 2 steps on how to answer this. 2 options. So there's option 1 and then there's option 2, right? Let's do the first option. Option 1, and here is option 2. Now we are calculating time with what? With a DST. What is step 1? Identify your time zone. What do we have? We've got New York. I know where New York is. New York is on -5. Then Pretoria, obviously, is on +2. That is option number 1. Then option number 2, New York is on -5. But because of DST, then we move to the right. Where will New York be? Then New York will be on -4. Then you say DST. Then Pretoria is on +2. Right? I said option 1 and option 2. Then we calculate our time. Step 2, calculate what? Time difference. Therefore, here it will be, our signs are not the same. Therefore, 5 + 2, then the time zone difference between South Africa and New York will be what? 7 what? Hours. And option 2, remember, because of DST, therefore New York is no longer on -5, it's on -4. Therefore, we will say 4 + 2. Then what do we have? 6 hours. Right. Then we are saying Bongani left New York at 12 o'clock. Therefore, you want the time in South Africa. Then you will say 12 o'clock, right? Then you check, where is South Africa? South Africa is on the right of what? Of New York. Therefore, what are you going to do? You're going to add, because our unknown time is on the right. Therefore, 12 + 7, then we have what? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Then we've got what? 19 hours, right? Remember, we've got the flying time. Let me check this side. This side, then we're going to say 12 o'clock. Then we add again +6. Therefore, what are you going to have? You will have 12 + 6. Then we will have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This side it is what? 18. Therefore, here we have what? 19 o'clock. Remember your DST. This side we did not calculate DST. This side we calculated what? DST. Therefore, 19 plus what? The 7 hours of the flying time. Then plus 7 hours. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 1, 2. Therefore, it is going to be 2 o'clock. But you must remember now, this time we are practicing DST. Therefore, and then plus 1 DST, then your answer will be 3 o'clock. Then this side, we need to get 3 o'clock as well. Therefore, this side, we've got 18, and then we say 18 plus the flying time. Let's check. What was the flying time? It was 7 hours. Therefore, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then, okay, 12 plus 6, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Therefore, we have 18. And then this side, plus 7 flying time, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, then 1. This 1 o'clock, and then this side it won't be. Let me just fix it. 2 o'clock. Here we are not going to add DST. We will subtract, because remember, New York is on the left. Okay, I get it, why I got it wrong. Therefore, here it will be 12 minus 1. Then here, 2 minus 1. Then you have 1 o'clock this side. The first option, you did your DST where? At the end. The second option, you did your DST there on top. So you need to be very specific here. Remember, you only calculate your DST once. If you did it on top, do not do it at the end where you are getting your answer. If you did it, if you did not do it where you started, make sure that you do it there at the bottom. So those are some of the calculations that we have. Then in this 4 minutes, let's move to doing foreign exchange calculations a bit. Then next week, then I will continue with foreign exchange. Right. So when it comes to foreign exchange, this is going to be your question 3. Tips for foreign exchange calculation. Right? The first thing that you need to remember to round off to 2 decimals. Meaning, after your calculations, there must be 2 digits after the comma. Remember, this is money that you're talking about when you are doing the calculation. So there has to be something after the comma. Then you've got these 2 concepts in your question 3. Bank selling rate and bank buying. Right? A rate, it is the amount. That's what we're talking about here. Bank selling rate, it is the amount that the bank will use to sell foreign currency. That the bank will use. So it is all about what the bank is doing for you. Right? Bank selling rate, it is the amount that the bank will use to sell what? Foreign currency. Meaning, when you depart from South Africa to a foreign country, then the bank will use what? Bank selling rate, because you will be buying a foreign currency from the bank. Now, when you come back, now we have spent whatever days in a foreign country, you're coming back to South Africa, then the bank will charge you using what? Bank buying rate. It is the amount the bank will use to buy what? Foreign currency. So when you come back, you still have some of your foreign currency that is left with you, but now you want rand. Then what are you going? You are going to the bank because you want the local currency. Then the bank will buy what? The foreign currency from you. When we do BSR, we multiply. When we do BBR, we divide. So these are some of the tips, but I will continue there next week. When do we divide or when do we multiply? You need to know that. From South African rand to foreign currency, we divide by the exchange rate, right? From South African rand, if you've got the rand, then you want foreign currency, we divide by the exchange rate. That is tip number 1. Number 2, from foreign currency to South African rand, we multiply by the exchange rate. Meaning, when you have foreign currency and then you want rand, what do? You multiply by the exchange rate. When you have South African rand and then you want foreign currency, we divide by the exchange rate. Right. You will also be given your foreign currency exchange rate sheet. So they will be different time and again. But let us fail, because here the key word it is study the foreign exchange rate table below. So you need to study or interpret it. We've got foreign exchange rate. We've got rand per foreign currency unit. This is the rate. On this first column, what we have, we've got our currencies. Sometimes it will be more than this. The middle block, we've got the 3-letter code for each currency. And then this side, we've got bank selling rate. Then here, 1928, 1473. Then bank buying rate. Again, they are not the same. This is table number 1. Then number 2, check. They are also a bit different. Rand and dollar exchange rate. So here it is just one currency. But I want you to check this. Here we've got the country. This is where the currency it is from. Then the currency code. Then BBR. Can you see? This first column, we've got bank selling rate and bank buying rate. Here we've got BSR and BBR. Remember, I explained these 2 concepts. And when you check again here, BSR, BBR, it is lower or lesser than BSR. The same thing even here. Remember here, the bank needs to make what? So before you do your calculations, you need to make sure that you interpret your currency rate sheet and check what is going on there. Right, we will continue next week, whereby again I will start with the tips on how to do foreign exchange calculations, and then we move to doing the exact calculation. Let's just recap and check what is it that we did today due to time. Right? What is it that we all did today? Remember, we did time zone calculation. And what did we focus on? We focused today a bit on a revision of foreign exchange concepts. Then from foreign exchange concepts, we moved to doing the calculation. And we did quite a lot of activities for practice. They were confusing even to the teacher at some point. So you need to make sure that you practice. We did calculations on how to determine time, how to calculate arrival time, how to calculate departure time, and also how to calculate what time using what DST. Then we tried a bit to move to doing what the foreign exchange, whereby I just reminded you how to count up to 2 decimals, when to use BBR and when to use BSR, and how to interpret what? The currency rate sheet. So when we meet next week, we will be focusing now only on foreign exchange calculations and the concepts that are used, especially weak rand and the strong rand. Thank you for watching. Mr. Nkoni was here. Papagai Obang was here. I'm hoping to see you again next time.